You count the coins in your palm. 3 quarters, 2 dimes. A nickel, 95 cents. You need 5 more. You find it in your other pocket. Lint covered. Fold it in half, then half again. A single crumpled bill. You smooth it flat on the counter. The cashier doesn't blink. She's seen this before. She's seen this exact amount before. From someone who looked exactly like you. More times than she'd ever tell you. You don't know it yet, but this dollar is the most honest one you'll spend all day. Every dollar after this one starts lying to you a little. At $1 a day. At $1 a day, you don't buy things. You buy survival in the smallest units it comes in. $1 a day is instant noodles, 3 for $1, eaten dry sometimes because the stove costs money too. It's walking the long way to skip the bus fare. It's checking your bank app in the middle of the aisle, doing the math with your thumb before you do it with your card, and doing it again at the register just to be sure. At $1 a day, hunger keeps a schedule. You know exactly when it starts. You know exactly what 3 p.m. feels like. You know exactly what midnight feels like. Still awake, still doing math, still one bad week from a decision you don't want to make. At $1 a day, you learn the price of everything and the value of nothing because you can't afford to separate the two. $1 isn't a dollar. It's an hour of your time converted, and you never forget the exchange rate. At $1 a day, you get good at a very specific kind of math. Not the kind they teach in school, the kind where you subtract before you add, where the first number you check every morning is what's left, not what's coming in. At $1 a day, you develop a private relationship with the word yet. Not yet. Not this week. Not this month. Rule 1. At $1 a day, money doesn't build anything. It only holds the door shut for one more night. At $10 a day, a door stays shut a little easier. $10 a day is a sandwich instead of noodles. It's the bus fare paid without flinching. It's a bill that gets paid on the day it's due instead of the day the late fee kicks in. And the small, specific relief of a due date that doesn't feel like a countdown. At $10 a day, you still check the app. You just don't do the math out loud anymore. You do it silently in the 2 seconds between opening it and closing it. And you've gotten fast at reading the number and deciding how you feel about it in the same glance. You start keeping a $5 bill folded in your wallet for emergencies. You tell yourself, it's for emergencies. It becomes the emergency fund. It is the entire emergency fund, and you know exactly how many emergencies it can survive, which is one, and only a small one. At $10 a day, you buy the same bag of chips from the same gas station, but this time, you don't count the coins first. You just hand over the bill and take the change without looking at it, which feels, for a moment, like wealth. You don't know it yet, but you'll remember this tear fondly one day, not because it was easy, because it was simple. There was one number to watch, and watching it was hard, but at least it was the only job. At $10 a day, yet starts to feel less like grace and more like a plan. You still say it. It just sounds different in your mouth now. Less like a prayer, more like a schedule you're actually keeping. You notice, for the first time, that enough is a word you can say about a day instead of only about a single meal. Rule 2. At $10 a day, money stops being about survival and starts being about maintenance. You're not drowning, you're treading water. And treading water is exhausting in a way that looks, from the outside, like standing still. At $100 a day. At $100 a day, you stop checking the app in the aisle. $100 a day buys groceries without a list. It buys the good coffee, not the free one at work. It buys a night out that doesn't get recalculated the next morning over eggs and regret. At $100 a day, you have a savings account. It has a number in it. The number goes up some months and down others, and both of those things used to be catastrophic. Now they're just weather. You mention them the way you mention the forecast in passing to people who don't really need to know. You buy a bag of chips at the gas station and don't think about it. You don't remember the last time you thought about it. You don't remember, actually, when the chips stopped being the point of the trip and started being an afterthought you grabbed on the way to the pump. At $100 a day, your friends start asking you for advice, which is new, and you give it carefully because you remember what it was like when a dollar was the whole conversation, even though you don't say that part out loud. You notice, too, that some of them stop asking quietly once they realize your advice now comes from a place theirs never will. You don't know it yet, but you've already stopped noticing the moment survival became comfort. There was no ceremony. It just quietly stopped being the whole story one unremarkable Tuesday you can't point to even if you tried. At $100 a day, you stop saying yet altogether. You don't notice it's gone until months later, mid-sentence, reaching for a word that used to live there and finding nothing, which should feel like relief and mostly just feels like silence. Rule 3. At $100 a day, money buys you room. Not freedom, room. The difference is that freedom doesn't come with a mortgage, a car payment, and a calendar that still isn't yours. At $1,000 a day, other people start doing math about you. $1,000 a day is a house in the right zip code. It's private school tuition paid in one transfer instead of 9. It's a vacation booked without checking the account first, then checked anyway, out of habit more than fear, because the fear left before the habit did. At $1,000 a day, you still work. You work more, actually, not less. The number on the door got bigger, so the door got heavier, and somewhere along the way, enough quietly turned into a moving target you stopped mentioning at dinner. Your calendar isn't yours. It hasn't been yours since somewhere around the second tier. You just didn't notice until now, because now there's enough money to hire someone to manage a calendar that still isn't yours, and pay them well to pretend that's the same thing as freedom. You buy the gas station chips again once on a road trip. Your kid asks why you're at a gas station when you have a driver at home. You don't have a good answer. You buy 2 bags instead of 1. Like that fixes something. At $1,000 a day, people start speaking to you differently before you've said a word. You notice it. You tell yourself you don't like it. You notice also that you've started to expect it, and that the expecting happened faster than the noticing did. At $1,000 a day, you catch yourself once reaching for coins that aren't in your pocket anymore out of a habit your hand remembers even though the rest of you has moved on. At $1,000 a day, you start hearing yet from other people instead. Your assistant says it. Your accountant says it. Not yet, sir. Not yet, boss. It's not your word anymore. It belongs to the people managing the calendar that isn't yours either. Rule 4, at $1,000 a day, money buys other people's respect before it buys your own peace. The respect arrives first. The peace is still on back order. At $10,000 a day, you stop going into the gas station at all. $10,000 a day is a name people recognize before they recognize your face. It's a room that goes quiet briefly when you walk in, and you've learned not to enjoy that as much as you thought you would. At $10,000 a day, you don't check the account. Someone else checks the account. You get a summary once a month, and mostly you don't read it, because reading it would mean admitting you still care what the number says. You don't know it yet, but somewhere in this tier you stopped having friends and started having relationships with an asterisk next to them. People who are kind to you and people you can no longer fully tell apart from each other, and you've stopped trying to sort them because sorting them is its own kind of exhausting. You have every material thing the version of you at $1 a day used to lie awake wanting. You still lie awake. You've just stopped being able to name why, and the not knowing why is somehow worse than the knowing exactly why used to be. Someone brings you the gas station chips once as a joke, a callback to a story you told at a dinner. You laugh. You eat one. It's fine. It's just chips. At $10,000 a day, nobody says yet to you anymore about anything, because at this tier, there's nothing left that's still coming. Whatever it was, it already arrived. You just can't always remember asking for it. Rule 5. At $10,000 a day, money buys distance from the problem. It does not buy the solution. It just makes the problem harder to see, which is not the same thing as making it smaller. At $1 million a day. At $1 million a day, you could buy the gas station, the building, the land under it, the franchise rights to 40 more like it, and never think about the number again. At $1 million a day, nobody says no to you, which means nobody tells you the truth either, and those turn out to be the same sentence said in 100 different polite voices. You are on a trip, somewhere with a name that sounds like a postcard. Your assistant hands you a coffee and you don't know her name, and you feel bad about that for exactly as long as it takes to forget it again, which is shorter every year. Someone mentions in passing a gas station snack, a specific one, the kind that used to be dinner, back when dinner was a decision made with coins in your palm. You ask them to get it for you, not because you want it, because you want to remember what wanting something used to feel like, and you've started to suspect that no amount of money can buy that particular memory back into your body. It arrives on a tray, opened for you, arranged, almost ceremonial. You take one bite and it tastes like a bag of chips, which is to say it tastes like nothing, because the hunger that used to make it tastes like everything left a long time ago and never sent word on how to get it back. You don't know it yet, but you'll think about this bite more than any number in any account this year. Not because it was good, because it was the last time money and want lived in the same room together, and you didn't notice them leave. At $1 million a day, you finally understand what yet was actually for. It wasn't a countdown to this. It was proof that you still wanted something badly enough to wait for it. And somewhere in the tiers between then and now, you traded that proof for everything it was supposed to buy. Rule 6. At $1 million a day, money buys everything except the version of you that still needed it to buy anything at all. The cold open, inverted, 95 cents, a lint covered bill, a cashier who doesn't blink. That was never really about the dollar. It was about a hunger sharp enough to make one bag of chips feel like the whole day had been worth it. Like the math had finally, for 1 second, come out even. Nobody at $1 million a day would trade back for the debt. Nobody would trade back for the fear, the math, the walking, to skip the bus fare, the midnights spent awake doing subtraction. But somewhere, quietly, on a trip with a name like a postcard, a version of you would trade a great deal to feel that hungry again. Not for food, for the feeling that this bag of chips, this small and specific thing, could still matter as much as it used to matter back when a dollar was the whole conversation. That's what it costs you, not the money. The math. The moment when wanting something and having it stop being the same kind of feeling, and you spend every dollar after that trying quietly to buy it back. You never do. You just get better at not mentioning it out loud. Somewhere, right now, at every tier at once, someone is counting coins in their palm and someone else is handing a coffee back to an assistant whose name they still haven't learned. Both of them think the other one has it figured out. Neither of them says so, because saying so would mean admitting they're doing the same math, just with different numbers of zeros. You'll pass through some of these tiers, maybe all of them, and at each one, you'll tell yourself the next one is where it finally evens out, where the door stays shut for good, where yet stops meaning anything at all. It doesn't. It just gets quieter. And somewhere past the last zero, you'll find yourself standing in a gas station you don't need to be in, holding a bag of chips you don't need to want, trying to remember what it felt like the first time 95 cents wasn't quite enough. That's the honest dollar. That's the one that never lied to you. Everyone after it did.